Get your life together. You got arrested when your baby was 6 weeks old for leaving your baby in the car and going on a shopping spree. Make it make sense. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel.
Hello stranger, it's been a minute since we last kicked it. And by the way, just got in town, and I won't let you in this club.
Welcome if you are new. I'm in such a good mood today. Do a story time because I'm in a good mood. And because you guys want story times. By the way, when I kind of did my last video, I kind of like just sat down and did my makeup and was just kind of like telling you guys that the direction of my channel is going to change a little bit, where I still am going to do story times. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to do story times. It's just I'm not going to be primarily a story time channel, like just story times. That's all you're going to see when you come on here. I want to branch out with my content, and I'm not going to stop doing story times. It's just they're not going to be as frequent. Also, when I said I don't enjoy doing story times anymore, I didn't mean like I come on here and I hate it. Look at this light. You can get this on my Amazon storefront. Yeah, what I meant by that was basically I don't enjoy coming on here and like talking about the past anymore. Like, I just feel like I have moved on as a person. I've moved on, I've matured. Like, I just don't want to come on here anymore and talk about the past. Like, I'm over it. Half the time when I come on here and tell stories, like, these people aren't even in my life anymore. I don't even think about them. And if it's a story that I can come on here and like share with you guys and it's going to help somebody, like, yes, I'm absolutely going to share it. Like my daycare series and trying to teach you guys how to know your worth when it comes to your place of employment. Don't trust everybody just because they say that they're your friend, and to know that at any point these jobs can and will replace you, and to always have something for yourself because of that. Yeah, anyway, it's a continuation of my daycare series where I worked at a crusty, dusty, rusty daycare and all the crazy things that happened there. Be like getting ready, links will all be in my description. And yeah, let's just get on with it, shall we? So last, where I left off, I was basically talking about how T, you know, the child who ended up falling in, what did I call her? Tana, I called her Tana. Teacher who just like, she was like so nice and she was so funny, but she should not have worked with kids. Like, she was the worst teacher, one of the worst teachers that came across that place. And that's saying a lot because there was a lot. I mean, there was a teacher that was a little drug addict working there. And director number 2 was the director. Nobody wanted to get out of there. Like, it just, I don't know, man. This place was so irresponsible when it came to hiring people. It was like, as long as you were breathing and you had limbs and a liver, you could work there. No credentials, no background checks, nothing. By the way, this pimple needs to pay rent because I've never had a pimple like this in my whole entire life. One thing I'll never understand is how you don't have to take a drug test to work at a daycare, and you don't have to do a background check. The literal only thing they make you do is go get fingerprinted and go get a tuberculosis test. So it's like, sure, great, you don't have tuberculosis, but if you do drugs or if you're a criminal or anything of that nature, I guess that's okay. Like, when I was working at the factory, we had to do a drug test. And we had to do it, and we had to get a background check. It was crazy. So it's like, for a factory, they do more to make sure you're not like a psychopath over a daycare where you're actually working with children. It's like, make it make sense. All was said and done with that. I guess we're gonna move on to this other parent. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you guys. This other parent, we're just gonna call her Headphones, because she always came in with these big ass like Sony headphones all the time, and like nobody knew why, but you knew that she was coming to pick up her kids because she always had these big ass headphones on, and they weren't wireless, they were like connected to the phone. So it's like, girl, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Y'all look a mess. Like, I don't know.
She was a foster parent, okay? I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody. These videos are never to like to talk bad about anybody or like say anything rude or anything like that. That's my opinion! I'm just telling the truth and what it is. So that's what I always say. Like, anybody who watches these videos and ever gets like offended or it's upset, it's like, I'm telling the truth. Like, I'm literally sitting here and saying what happened. If I was fabricating things, if I was defaming your character, I would totally understand why you'd have an issue with these videos, but like, I'm telling the truth of what happened to me. And I saw a quote the other day that was like, my healing is loud because I suffered in silence for so many years. So for example, with this video, somebody who's in this video made the comment of like, because I know everything, I hear everything. They were like, why is she making a video after this many years? That happened so long ago. And it's like, yes, you're 100% right, it happened so long ago, but I stayed silent. I stayed silent throughout all of these years. I didn't say anything, I didn't talk about anybody, I didn't confront anybody. I left this daycare and I left everything that came with it, like truly and honestly 100% in the past. And now that I'm doing this daycare and I'm speaking up about things that happened, I'm able to talk about my experience there. I'm able to talk about things that were done to me, things that were said about me, and things that happened to me, just like you were allowed to do those things and say those things and pursue those actions. I'm allowed to also talk about it. It's like, that's like, if I kidnapped your cat, I took your cat and you never saw your cat again, but you never did anything about it, right? And I'm over here like, haha, I got your cat, you can't get it back, blah, 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 right? And then years later, you want to pursue like actions against me kidnapping your cat. I wouldn't sit there and be like, why is she trying to get her cat back after all these years? Like, kidnapped her cat years ago, you know what I'm saying? Like, or like say like you made a video about how I kidnapped your cat. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, why is she doing that after all these years? The fact is that it was done. It doesn't care if it happens 5 years, 10 years, 11 years. I can talk about my life experience that happened in my life whenever the hell I want. And if you have an issue with that, like, that sounds like a personal problem that you're gonna have to talk to somebody about. I don't know what to tell you. There was this one parent and she was crazy, you guys. Like, she fostered multiple children and she was so mean. Like, when I tell you, she was the rudest person I have ever met in my life. She always liked me, and she was always like super nice to me. That's because, like I said, at this daycare, I went above and beyond. Like, I was an amazing teacher. I went above and beyond. I always wanted to make sure the parents felt comfortable and safe, because like, you're bringing your kids here. Like, you're bringing your kids here. This is like a second home, basically, you know? Like, you're bringing your children here. So I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel like when you're dropping your kid off that you're getting like best of the best care next to what you would obviously give them, right? So of course I'm going to like, this powder is doing too much. It just never wants to come out. I always went like above and beyond. But she, like, if you did not kiss the ground that this lady walked on, she hated you. And she was just so complicated. She never wanted her kids to get messy. And it's like, girl, your kids are at a daycare. Like, they are going to get paint on their shirt. They're going to get food on their shirt. They're going to have snot in their nose sometimes, because sorry, but I have 8 children and I can't just focus on and favor your one child. Like, if like there'd be times where like I was changing a diaper, and if it was like flu season or allergy season, the kids always had a runny nose. Like, you know, if you've had a toddler or if you worked with toddlers, they just have runny noses all the time in the winter. And I was like literally changing a kid, and she came to pick her up, and her foster child had like a runny nose, like there was boogers, and she like, this is like the one time she kind of like lost it on me. And I told her, I was like, I'm changing a child. Like, I was going to get to her, I was going to wipe her nose, but like, I have 8 children in here. And my other teacher was like, I think either on the phone with a parent or they were like cleaning or something. But I'm like, I can't just drop everything I'm doing. Like, sure, headphones, let me leave the child who's literally on the table getting their diaper changed, have them possibly fall and break their neck just because your kid has a runny nose. Like, I'm sorry, but no. She was so mean. Like, there was this one teacher that she could not stand, and I don't know why, because she was like such a sweet teacher. She was so nice, and she, like, when she first started coming there, which was like years and years and years before any of the staff that I'm talking about now was there, and she just couldn't stand her. And there was one day that she came to pick up her foster daughter, and the other teacher I was with was like dealing with her and talking to her, and she asked a question like, oh, like, what happened at this time, because we had these things called day sheets that we'd have to fill out that basically said like what they ate, what they did throughout the day, like when they got changed. And she's like, oh, I see that she was changed at this time. She was asking a question about it, and the teacher was like, oh, Miss Jen isn't here right now, but when she comes back tomorrow I can ask her. And she was like,
good, I'm glad Miss Jen's not here because I can't stand that girl.
Like, you're talking about a teacher like that in front of other teachers, in front of other parents, because there was other parents that came into the room, okay? Literal other parents that were in the room, and you're okay with speaking like that? Like, are you actually okay? She was just miserable. She was the type of person where she was miserable in her personal life, so she basically used like children to fill that void in her heart. Like, she would just like foster children, and to take out her frustration and anger, she would take it out on the people that were their caregivers, which is really stupid because like, we're with these kids all day and you're treating us like that. Don't you think you'd want to treat your kid's teacher good? Like, it just didn't make sense to me, her logic or her rhyme or her reason. Oh my God, there was this other parent. Let me tell you guys real quick. She was absolutely nuts, okay? So there was this one parent, and she had this, she didn't stay there, she didn't last there long because she didn't pay the tuition. Like, from the day that she started, she did not pay her daycare tuition. So because at this daycare, like, it was expensive. Even if you had Care for Kids, which is like a financial program that helps you pay for daycare, you were paying a lot of money. So she came and she had her daughter, and she dropped off her daughter, and she would like basically be like, she needs to have a bottle at this time, she needs to have only breast milk, no formula, and I want her to drink all of the bottle. And I can't stand when parents would make that request. They'd be like, I want him to drink all of their bottle, because you can't force a child to finish their food. That is literal child abuse. Like, I'm so sorry, but it is. These parents would literally expect us to force their children to finish their food, finish their bottles. Like, you know how when a baby is like, they don't want to eat anymore, they just like move their head and they cry? They would literally want us to like shove the bottle in their mouth in order for them to finish eating. That is literal child abuse, and I'm not a child abuser, so I'm not doing that. Like, I'm so sorry about it, but at the same time I'm not, because like, what is actually wrong with you? Like, if they don't want to eat, they don't want to eat, and that's just how it is. And she would freak out if she came in and the child like did not finish her bottle, or if there was, the breast milk. So the rule of thumb at the daycare is any bottle that's out after an hour has to go in the garbage. Like, it has to go in the garbage, even after it's been reheated. So say the bottle has been reheated and you put it back in the fridge, you can't do that. You literally have to toss it after an hour. We had a nurse that came to the facility like once a month, and she would literally like tell us that all the time, because if we give the child a bottle and it's spoiled and they have a stomach ache, we could be held reliable. Like, it was a lot. So that was the rules, and that's what we were instructed to do. And she would come in and she'd be like, I know the rules are to throw the bottle out after an hour, but don't do that with my breast milk. I sit there after a 12-hour shift, which, girl, you didn't work 12 hours. And I come home and I pump my breast milk, and I work hard for that breast milk, and you guys better not throw it out. Like, she would talk to us like this, not headphones. This was a different parent. We're gonna call this parent shoplifter. She was super rude all the time, but her daughter was like super cute, so we were just like, whatever. I didn't work in this classroom, I just opened it. It was like the infant classroom. So in the morning, I would be the one that would receive the child, but then once my the teacher of that classroom came and, you know, opened with her shift, I would go into my classroom. So the teacher that was in this classroom was like one of the sweetest people in the whole entire world. I still talk to her to this day. She's like the only person from there besides my other friend that I talked to. And she was really nice, and she really cared about the kids a whole entire lot, right? So there was this one day that this parent comes in, teacher had dumped out the breast milk because it had been out for an hour. And literally, I think that this parent got there at like, say that the bottle was given at 4 o'clock, the parent got there at like 5:02. So she literally came like 2 minutes after the breast milk had been dumped. So she picks up, and we weren't expecting her either. I wasn't in there, I was across the hall, but the teacher wasn't expecting her to come, because normally she would come at literally 6:30. There were certain parents that would drop their kids off at 6:30 and then pick them up at 6:30 all day, like 12 hours. Those babies, some of them were at that daycare, babies. And it's not like she had to, because I get it if you have to work like a 12-hour shift. She just wanted to. Like, she wanted to go shopping after work, and she wanted to just get her nails done, and you just tell she didn't give two shits about that baby. And those are the type of parents, the ones that don't care the most are the ones that complain the most, because they know they don't care. And because they know they don't care and they're like guilty about that, they try to make it seem like they go above and beyond for their child, and they make like the smallest thing like into like the biggest deal ever, because it's low-key guilt, because they know they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing for their damn child. So She comes and picks her up, and she saw that on the sheet the last bottle was given at 4 and it was 5:02. So she's like, where is my breast milk? Where's the bottle with the breast milk? And so the teacher was like, oh, I just had to dump it because I, as you can see, gave it to her at 4. It's now 5. You guys, she lost her ever loving mind, started screaming, saying that the teacher was an idiot, that she was a dumbass, that where'd she get her degree from? Because this teacher had a degree, like a master's in teaching, okay? Started screaming at her, calling her a dumbass, etc., calling her stupid, literally screaming, right? And this is when director number 2, so not Fox and Hound. Fox and Hound were the directors maybe like 6 months after this happened. 6 months prior, director number 2, the one who had gotten fired, right, basically was the one that was there when all this happened. So she picks up her child, she goes to the front, and she complains to director number 2. Now the teacher that got insulted by shoplifter went in there and was like almost in tears, like, because she just got screamed at for literally no reason. She was just doing what she was told. Can you believe director number 2 had the nerve to tell her next time to not dump the breast milk out, and that she feels bad for the parent shoplifter, so she's gonna give her a week free of tuition? What? Why do you reward bad actions, bad behavior? Like, it made no sense. And then that's why she ended up getting fired, because she was giving so many parents like discounts and stuff for no reason. They would get mad at something and she'd be like, okay, I'll give you a week free of tuition. But it's like, where was my free week of tuition? Because girl, like like, it makes no sense at all. But yeah, so, and then like the teacher was like, I did not go to school and bust my ass to come here and get insulted like this. She never said anything to her, like, don't talk to my employee like that, nothing. And same thing with headphones. So when headphones was there, she was there for all of the directors, for the first one, the second one, and Fox and Hound. Nobody ever stood up to her. Nobody ever said anything to her. And this woman would treat us like absolute peasants. She would drop her kids off and be like,
they have a little present in there for you.
and I'm like, girl, I know good and well that you smelled that poop in her diaper while you were getting her ready for school, and instead of you changing it, you wanted to drop her off with poop in her pants so we could change her. Like, I'm not stupid. I could not stand when parents would be like, I think they have a little present in there for you. Like, that would literally make me want to go feral. That would make me want to go off the walls feral. Oh, I think she has a present in there for you. Oh my god, I do not miss working at daycares. I don't miss working at daycares at all. But yeah, she would just do like really crazy stuff. Like, so if we went outside, they had like water play, they had stuff to do on the playground. She wanted us to keep her kids off the grass and only on the pavement because she didn't want their shoes to get dirty. Yeah, sure, I have 8 toddlers that are all running around like crazy, but I'm gonna take your foster kid, who is honestly the worst of them all. Like, this girl was crazy. She would literally run around and like bite people, hit people, like harass people. But yeah, sure, let me just, for her, make sure she don't go on the ground.
Is it crack, cocaine, or meth you smoke?
Are you out of your goddamn mind? And then she requested that she could bring her own sandbox. She's like, can I just bring like my own sandbox for her? That way when you guys do water play, she has something to do, because she didn't want her kid doing water play. Fair enough, whatever. But like, she wanted us to do water play with our other kids, and then for her kid have a personal sandbox in the corner. And nobody else could touch it. It's just, do you think that this is like, what? She had all these like crazy demands that just literally made no fucking sense whatsoever. Anyway, enough about headphones. I literally could not stand her. And I said that to not Fox, to Hound one day, because there was one day where she said something about, I hadn't closed the night before, Casey had, and there was something wrong with the closing. And so Hound came up to me and started talking to me about it, and I said, listen, I didn't close last night. When I closed, that room is clean. So I was like, you gotta talk to Casey, because I don't know what the hell that's about. And she was like talking to me, and I finally looked at her and I said, why are you so scared of headphones? And she's like, what? I was like, why are you so scared of her? She's like, I'm not scared. I said, yes you are. I said, anytime that this woman comes in here and makes a demand, this, like, if she said jump, they would be like, how high? They were terrified of her. When, let me just tell you, at a daycare, if a parent is coming in and like making their staff uncomfortable and like posing threats and things, you can get them removed and blacklisted from ever coming there with any of their like kids, foster kids, ever again. I think the reason why they never kicked her out and the reason why they never confronted her was because the higher ups probably were like, well, she's a DCF parent and they have foster kids, and that's a guaranteed tuition payment every single month. 'Cause it's all about money. It's not about being comfortable. It's not about the staff and them feeling comfortable and safe coming to work every day. It's how much money can we get? How much money can this parent bring in? Oh, and the best thing is about shoplifter, the reason why I call her shoplifter was because she never paid tuition. Like from the day that she was there for 1 month, never paid a tuition at all. Like you had to pay tuition every Friday. Never paid tuition, ever paid tuition. And then she ended up one day just like not showing up because I think that the director, like the higher ups, like called her, and she I think got scared, so she just like never brought her kid back. But we found out like a week after that at 6 weeks she lost her child because she left her child in a car, went inside to Rainbow. If you don't know what Rainbow is in Connecticut, it's just like a store and they have like nice clothes, but they're for like really cheap. And she went in there to go shopping and left her child in the car in the winter. Left her baby in the car in winter, not with the heat on, nothing, to go shopping. And I'm pretty sure she shoplifted and got arrested, and that's how she got caught. But she had the nerve to come in there and talk about some breast milk. Girl, get your whole life together. Get your life together. You got arrested when your baby was 6 weeks old for leaving your baby in the car and going on a shopping spree. Make it make sense. To my co-teacher, Casey. I told you guys, like, you know, I had co-teacher Casey. We were really cool. We were friends. I really loved her. And we just had like a really cool friendship. Well, after a while, our friendship kind of started to like dwindle down a little bit because, like I said, she would just like throw bombs and then like just like put her hand behind her back and be like, who threw that? And she was starting to do things in like our friendship specifically that I didn't like. So she kind of would like manipulate me, like I said, into thinking that people were talking about me when they really weren't. Fox and Hound would basically like come in and they would say something to her. Like they'd be like, oh, hey, last night, you know, a parent complained because the room wasn't cleaned properly or something like that. Like when she closed, right? And then when I would come in for my shift, she would make it seem like they were saying those things about me. Basically anything that a director or a teacher said to her, she tried to make it seem like it was about me or it was about me and her. And one thing that these teachers knew was that I was gonna say something. Like I said, I had enough. I was there for like 5-6 years. I had been just completely over the treatment that all of us as teachers were receiving at this daycare. So my last year there, I started to open my mouth and I started to make complaints and I started to say things because I was sick of it. And I think all the girls knew that I would say something, so I kind of started to be like the sacrificial lamb, I guess you could say. So if something would happen, like they would complain to me and want me to go say something because they were too scared to. And I talked to my therapist about this a couple weeks ago actually, not because of this situation but because of another situation, because I got myself caught up in a mess a week ago. Okay, let me just talk about it. Hold on my foot to sleep. Okay, so basically what had happened was one of my really good friends recently started dating this guy. And I had heard some not great things about him that I thought would not be, I would want to know, right? Like if I started dating this guy and my friends had heard some things about him that made them feel like, oh, Dakota's not going to be safe, I would want someone to tell me, okay? So I was like, okay, I'm going to tell my friends. So I called her and I basically was like, look. Sorry y'all, for whatever reason, I don't know why my camera cut out, but basically what I was trying to say is that I made the decision to tell my friend what was going on and the things that I've heard, just to like give her a forewarning, right? Just to get, I was like, listen, it's your relationship, you do what you want, I'm sure some people could change. This is what I heard, like as a friend, as a woman, right? Apparently, while my friend was sleeping, her man went through her phone, like an FBI raid search through her phone, and he saw the text that I sent her, saying all that stuff. Yeah, and it got me into some shit. I was like, great. So he just saw everything that I said, and I called him a weirdo too. So That wasn't good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'd pick up after this and say the rest of the story, so I don't know. So yeah, girl, he saw that shit. He saw that shit. I found out because the next morning I wake up to like all these texts on my phone like, hey, did you say something about so-and-so? And I'm like, what? Like how do I get caught in this mess by me trying to help my friend? And there's so many situations. Like in high school, I was trying to help my friend because his girlfriend was cheating on him, and I tried to tell him, and he went and like confronted her about it. She made up a lie like, oh, I didn't do that. And then when she asked him who it was, he threw me under the bus. Like there's been so many situations, you guys, where I have tried to help my friends and then I get thrown under the bus. So like I was talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, yeah, you have like a savior complex where you feel like you always have to, and it's because I have a Libra moon. Like I'm a Libra moon, so I already know, like, I like justice. I like things to be fair. You're gonna treat somebody one way, treat everybody that way. You know? I don't like for things to be unfair. I always like to stick up for the underdog. I definitely was that girl when I was younger that stuck up for people. Like, if I saw somebody being bullied, even though I got bullied, nobody stuck up for me. But, like, when I would see someone else getting bullied, I would go up and be like, no. Like, that's the type of person that I am. I always like to stick up for the underdog. I like things to be fair. I like people to be treated well. So that's what I would do. You know? So basically, my therapist was like, yeah, you have like a savior complex where you think that you always have to like save the day. And she goes, but also it seems like people are just like really comfortable telling you stuff. And then I sat there and I'm like, yo, people are extremely comfortable telling me things. I will go in to get my oil changed and I will have a random person just come up to me and tell me their whole life story, and I'd be like, all right, thanks, this was real good, have a good day. I'm like, what the, I'm just sitting here. Like, I will literally be at Stop and Shop checking my groceries out, and I'll be like, I'll see somebody and be like, hey, like, how are you? Or like, they'll smile at me and they'll be like, oh, well, actually really bad. And then they'll just tell me like their whole life story, and I'm just sitting there like, I just asked you how your day was, like, what the fuck? She's like, you know, people seem really comfortable telling you things, and they probably know that you're gonna keep their secrets. And you guys, it has happened like so many times. Like, I had this situation one time where my friend was sleeping with this guy that my friend had previously been with. Like, they were previously like kind of together, and they broke up, but the girls were really good friends, and like this one went and slept with him, and it just put me in a really, really bad position, because I'm like, why would you do that? First of all, why would you do that? Second of all, why are you telling me about it? And I think that she secretly like wanted me to tell her. That's another thing too. People will tell me things because they want me to be the person to bring it up instead of them. And then it always backfires. Always. So basically, my mindset for the rest of my life is, it's not my business. And if you say, oh, remember when I told you? No. You didn't tell, what are you talking about? You didn't tell me shit. What? You told me that about her? I don't remember that. Like, literally, that is gonna be my personality, because I'm so sick of it. Anyway, so in this daycare, that's what would happen. So there was this one teacher. Remember I told you guys about, did I tell you about Elise? No, I didn't tell you about Elise because I cut it out of the video. So Elise was this teacher that everybody was like afraid of, because she was kind of like intimidating. Everybody was kind of like scared of her, but I wasn't, because I'm like, why are you guys scared of her? Like, she's just a person. She was kind of like very loud and very extra, and like she was very bold. Like, she's the type of person that will come up to you and like literally be like, let me see your vaccination record. Like, she was just bold like that. Like, she did not care at all. Like, she would come up and be all up in your business. She did not give not one, not two, not three shits, right? So me and her always got along really well. I actually gave her the nickname of Zoe, so I think I'm actually gonna switch her name to Zoe. So Zoe. So yeah, like, I really liked Zoe, but she definitely was like super extra. Like, she definitely was like very rude to like certain teachers, but they would put up with it. So there was this one teacher that was across from me. What are we gonna give her the name of? We're just gonna call her Maddie. So Maddie worked across from me, and me and Maddie were friends. We were cool. me, her, and Casey were like hang out and stuff. Like we were cool. Zoe would like open her room, right? And Zoe would open her room for her until she came in. I think she had a shift around like 9 o'clock, and Zoe was like the opening shift. Maddie would like come into the classroom, and Zoe would be like, oh, you should do this with your classroom, you should do that. Like, it would look better if you did this, blah, blah, blah. And she'd be like, oh, like, no, thank you, but thanks for your suggestions. So I guess one day, before Maddie came in, Zoe redid her whole classroom. Like, she moved the tables, she took things off the wall and put it, like, somewhere else. Like, and she did stuff like that. Like, she would, like, go into someone's classroom and be like, this doesn't look right, do it like this. And then if they would tell her, like, no, like, this is my room, but like, thanks for the suggestion, she would just go in there and like redo it for them and be like, does it look so much better like this? It's like, girl, nobody asked you to do that. Like, just like weird stuff like that. So Maddie was like super upset about it. Like, she was really, really upset. She was like, I don't know what to do, I feel like she's like targeting me and bullying me, whatever. So Casey was telling me all this, right? Maddie never told me none of this, Casey did, which, like, why are you even telling me about this? So she told me about it, and I kind of started to get pissed, because I'm like, yo, like, this girl just really thinks she could go anywhere and do what she wants. Like, she would literally go into the classroom when you weren't there. For example, like, if you were outside with the kids, she would take her kids from her classroom, her 4 kids, walk through the hallways and go through all the teachers' classrooms that weren't in there because they were outside, and steal stuff. And then she would come and give it back, and then she would leave like this much of it. So like construction paper, for example, like if she needed construction paper, instead of just asking you like, hey, do you have like construction paper I could use, this girl would literally like go into your classroom when you weren't there, take the whole thing of construction paper, and then like a week later come back and be like, hey, here's your construction paper, and leave like 2 pieces of it. And it's like, girl, what the heck? But God forbid you did that to her. God forbid you went to Zoe's classroom and you were like, hey, can I borrow this? She would either lie and say she didn't have it, or if she found out you went in her room, she would like tell you off. But it's like, girl, didn't you do the same thing? It doesn't make sense. Literally make it make sense. Zoe was kind of like starting to get on my nerves, and like I said, like, she wasn't doing anything personally to me, because like when she would try to do that stuff for me, I'd be like, girl, get out of my classroom. Like, get out of my classroom, I don't have anything for you. And we would like laugh about it. It would be like funny or whatever. Like, we just had like a joking relationship. But when she tried it with me, I'd be like, no, like, you just have to stand up to her. Like, I'm sorry, but if you let people walk all over you like that, they will. Like, all you had to do was just tell her no. I'm not saying it was these teachers' faults, because she shouldn't have been like doing things like this, but like, what, like, you also have to kind of blame yourself, because why are you allowing her? Like, what you allow will continue, right? So I was kind of getting sick of her. So on top of her like going and taking stuff from teachers, and on top of her like doing this to Maddie, who was my friend at the time, I was like, I'm gonna go say something to the front office. So I went to the front office, I voiced my concerns, and they basically were just like, yeah, whatever. They were scared of her. They were just like, yeah, whatever. Like, they basically just like blew it off. Nothing ever happened. This girl continued to torment everybody, and nobody did anything about it. But what I'm saying though is that like, I would get manipulated basically into like being the sacrificial lamb, being the voice that would go and talk to the office on everyone's behalf when it had literally nothing to do with me at all. And it caused a lot of conflict for me, because like there was this one morning, for example, where I had opened the infant room and there was this little boy and I had to pass him. I was changing another kid, because like I said, we did diaper changes 4 times a day. And so I looked over to the teacher that was in there at the time, and I said, hey, can you go pass this boy to the toddler room? So she went to go pass him, she got all of his stuff, and she passed him to Fox. Fox was in the toddler room where this little boy was going to. So anyway, Casey ends up coming, and I'm able to now go into my classroom. So I go into my classroom and everything's fine. And she basically comes in, she's like, oh my God, Fox was just saying about you that you passed a kid with poop to her, and that you're always passing kids with poop, and that you never change. Like, she basically was just saying all this stuff. I said, oh, is that right? And I'm the type of person where I like to nip things in the bud. So like, I don't let things ruminate and marinate within me, because I don't want to cause a storm with you. I'm not going to allow a storm to be inside of me. Like, I'm not going to basically keep calm waters because you don't want to handle confrontation. So instead of that, I'm going to have a storm mixing up inside of me. No, not doing that. So like when something happens, like literally like me and like my friend Dana, like a couple months ago, something happened that she did something I didn't like. I called her right away and I told her like, hey, you did this, I didn't like it. You know, I appreciate if you didn't do that again. And we squashed it right there, said I love you, and hung up the phone. Like that was it. Like when things happen, I talk about them right away. Or maybe not right away, maybe I'll wait like 24 hours, or maybe I'll wait a couple days until I feel emotionally regulated to have a conversation. But like one thing about me is I'm not gonna wait to talk about something, because why am I going to let emotions marinate and build up and build up and build up and then you explode? Like no. So I said I'm gonna go talk to her right now. So I took a couple kids, so I'd be in ratio, and I went across the hall and I was like, hey, I heard that you said that I passed a kid with poop. I said I didn't pass him with poop. The other teacher who came in to grab him passed him with poop. I didn't know he had poop. I was changing other kids. And she's like, I never said that. And I was like, oh, well, so-and-so said, I didn't even say so-and-so, but I was like, oh, that's what I heard. And she's like, no, I didn't say that. All I said was that he was passed with poop and needed a diaper. And I'm like, Casey, what the hell is going on? Like, I just don't understand. Like, she would do stuff like that to me all the time, and I don't know if it was intentional. Like, maybe she just heard it wrong, and then when she relayed the message to me, it was kind of a game of telephone, or maybe she purposely was trying to call. I don't know, you guys. I have no idea. But I would just get like manipulated into thinking things, right? So anyway, because all this would happen, like I would be like the sacrificial lamb, like for everybody basically. What would happen was at my yearly review, because we were supposed to get yearly reviews, but we didn't get yearly reviews. We got reviews like every like once in a couple years, and at these reviews were basically the determination on if we got raises or not. You guys, I was working there for 5-6 years. I only got 3 raises. The first one was cost of living. The second one was because I went in there and I was like, if I don't get this amount of money, I'm gonna have to leave, because like I'm getting an apartment soon, whatever. And director number 2 at the time was like, oh my god, yeah, absolutely. Like she did approve me for that raise, and she was like, go higher, like why are you settling so low? And then the third one was at this review I'm about to talk about, because I got like a semi-okay review, so I got like a 15-cent raise. I literally have a diary in my room where I'm writing in that diary, and I'm like, I was at work today and I only got a 15-cent raise. I'm like, I can't believe this. Like, I'm so tired of being here. I'm so miserable. I just want to be doing YouTube and sharing my story with people and inspiring young women. And look where we are now. Look where we are now, y'all. We manifested that shit. I went from working at this crusty daycare, making $12 an hour, miserable, depressed, crying on the way home every day, to now living my dream job in my life. So like, bad things that happen to you aren't really bad things. Like, the blessing is in the redirection. Rejection is redirection. So me not having this job anymore was like literally the best thing that could have ever happened, but neither here or there. Y'all, so I just got off a call. Why did I say y'all like that? I'm not Southern, because remember I told you guys I was getting evaluated for ADHD, and I was like so convinced I have it. This is why you don't talk about things until you're diagnosed with them, okay? I don't have ADHD. I just have generalized anxiety disorder, which I already knew that, OCD, which I already knew that, and major depression disorder, which that's news to me. So now I have 3 diagnoses, 3 mental illnesses. Yay! It's mild. It's not moderate or severe. Like, it's very mild, and then I can definitely manage it with like exercise every day, cognitive behavioral therapy, etc. Anyway, back into the story time. Went in for my review, and normally when I would go in for reviews, like with director number 2 or even like my first director, they were always pretty solid. They may have had 1 or 2 things, constructive criticism to say, but it wasn't anything crazy. This review, I knew that it wasn't going to be good, because like I said, I had been going in there, I had been like voicing concerns. Like, I tried to tell them about Tana, how I saw her like dragging kids left and right, and I tried to tell them about like a couple things, like ideas that I had for the center. Like, I would really go in there and try to like help. Like, I'd be like, hey, because a lot of teachers like weren't taking their toys down at the end of the night to get cleaned, and my daughter goes here. Like, my daughter goes to this daycare. She's in all of these classrooms, so that's a concern for me as a parent, because if my daughter's sick, that means I can't come to work, and if I can't come to work, that means that you don't have staff. So why don't we try to make the building as clean as possible? That way we can avoid the spread of infection and the spread of germs. So I would say to them, like, why don't you go around and just like tell the teachers and remind them? And they'd be like, oh yeah, but we don't want to cause conflict. And I'd be like, okay, so then why don't you write down like on a piece of paper saying like, hey, please, just as a reminder, toys every night, whatever. Like and like, you know, like hand it out to all the teachers, like something. Like I just would always have ideas. And also we weren't having staff meetings. We were like supposed to have staff meetings every single month. Those completely stopped. So it was like nothing was getting done, nothing was getting talked about. Center was going to shit. Well, you guys always ask my lip combo. It's the NYX lip liner in Los Angeles, and then the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb Heat in shade Lemon Lava. And then lately I've been putting the NYX Maybelline gloss on there as well. These three are like my holy grail. I just didn't want to hear it, and so after a while I tired. I'm like, I'm trying to help y'all out. There was this one time where we had a Christmas event and I was like, oh my god, we should do a photo shoot with Santa Claus. Like one of the parents can dress up as Santa Claus, the kids can take pictures, and then you guys can post it on the website, and then parents can see that we're like a family friendly place and that they'll want to send their kids here. And they were like, oh my god, yes, that'd be so good. And I was like, hey, I have a ring light, I have a camera, I have a tripod. Like at this time I was like just starting to like want to do my YouTube channel, so I had all the things. So I said, why don't you just have somebody cover my classroom from like 4 to 6, and I can take pictures. Like I can take pictures of all of the people, like their kids with Santa Claus, and we can like send it out to them in an email. That way they have their Christmas pictures taken. And of course I was doing this for free, but like I was trying to help, and they were like, oh my god, yes Dakota, thank you, that'd be so cool. So day of the Christmas event comes, I pack all of my which listen, I know a ring light and a tripod and a camera sounds like not a lot to lug, but when you're lugging that plus your kid, plus her diaper bag, plus your stuff for work, it's a lot. And I lived 30 minutes away, so I had to get up like ass crack of dawn, 5 o'clock in the morning, lug all my stuff there, set up. I set up everything. Tell me why an hour before they were like, hey, actually we don't have coverage, we don't have somebody to come in the room for you and do the pictures, so just like put your ring light there so there's like some good lighting, but like the parents could just take pictures themselves. And that's like not the first time something like that has happened, where like I've had an idea for us to do something and they say, yeah, we're gonna do that, we're gonna implement that, cool. And then the day comes and they're like, never mind, never mind. And they were going around to the staff being like, hey guys, we're having, like they would always say they were having budget cuts, and it's like, girl, these parents pay $300 to $325 a week for their kids to come here. There was at least, I don't know, like 200 enrollments at that center. You do the math. How does a $1 billion corporation have budget cuts? Where's that money going? Where's that money going? So they'd be like, like, you know, in order for you guys to avoid getting your hours cut, we need to get more families in here, because the more families means more money, and more money means more supplies, because every month they would give us like a piece of paper and tell us to write down what we needed for supplies, and we would never get it because we had a new theme in our classrooms every month. That's what I'm trying to say to y'all, is like we were dead ass like public school teachers, but in a daycare setting. We had curriculum, we had lesson plans, we had all these things like reviews, like people would come in and like watch us like teach and like rate us, like but we didn't get paid like that. Then we would ask for supplies to do our curriculum and we would never get it, but then there'd be complaints that the curriculum's not getting done. That's like saying, hey, go drive your car to CVS but you have no gas. They would be like, yeah, you know, we need to get more parents in here, more parents, more money, more parents, more money. But then when we would propose ideas of things to do, they wouldn't do them. So I got tired of it, and I'm not gonna lie, I did start to have a bad attitude. I was over it. I did what I had to do for like my kids and to make sure that my families were happy. But as far as anything else, I'm not doing nothing extra. I'm not staying later. I'm not sacrificing my lunch break anymore. Or like, yeah, you know, don't worry, I can stay later so so-and-so can go to that appointment or go home early. After that, I stopped. Because why am I going to do that for a company who doesn't appreciate it? Like, please tell me why. So I went into the review. I could tell that Fox and Hound, well, I don't know about Fox. Like I said, I really have no beef with Fox. I thought she was a great assistant director. She's apparently the director there now, and I think that's like great because she actually does her job and she does it very well. I could tell that Hound really just started to like not like me and couldn't give two shits about me, even though like they used to like literally love me, like I was one of their favorites. But I feel like the more that I went in there and started like bringing things to light and actually pushing them to like grow as a company, I feel like they they were like, get this girl out of here, get this girl out of here, she's annoying, whatever. So in my review, they were like, yeah, you know, like we just feel like you once had a glow to you and you loved work and you loved being here and you had a positive attitude, and we looked at you as like one of like the best teachers and like one of the most influential teachers. And now like you just lost that glow and we're just starting to see it diminish, and we just feel like, you know, you're kind of developing like a sour attitude towards us and the company. No shit. What are you? Like, what are you talking about? Oh my God, I literally cannot. And not for nothing, but at this point they were having Paige. Do you guys remember? I think, was her name Paige? You guys remember from like the story time of like the group chat and things like that? Paige had gotten an assistant director position at like another company, so she left, but then she came back, and because she had been an assistant director at like another Apple Pair, she came back and then she just took her job back as like a teacher. I guess it didn't work out or she didn't like it, whatever. They were starting to have her close now, so that way they didn't have to stay till 6:30. So now that they can come in and leave whenever they want, they don't give a crap anymore. So it's like, oh, I have a sour attitude towards the company, but you're the one that's coming in here and just here for a paycheck and just to go home. So Hound, what are you talking about? Oh God, she literally pissed me off so much. And the whole entire time, this is just me. I told Casey, I was like, I'm gonna go in there, it's gonna be me the whole time. Like literally, I couldn't have cared less. By the way, at this point in time, I had decided that I didn't want to be there anymore. I was actively looking for other jobs. I had a couple of interviews that I went to, but it just either they didn't want to like pay me the amount that I deserved to be paid, and I wasn't going to leave a company and go to another one unless I was getting paid more. Like it was going to be like worth my time. And then one I just didn't get because I wasn't like qualified enough. I was trying for a long time to get out of there. At this time, I had gotten Aubrey enrolled in a Head Start program in the town that was completely free. The school was way better, curriculum was way better, like they even served them better food for lunch. Like it was just overall better. And I hadn't told Fox and Hound yet, but I was about to get her disenrolled at Apple Pair and then enrolled into the Head Start program. And that was like my ticket out, because my whole entire thing was like, I need to keep this job because it offers me an income, but also childcare. Like I was only paying $100 a week. Anywhere else I would have taken her, I would have been paying like $200 to $300. At the time, like my rent was like $1,000 plus my utilities, plus cable, plus food. I didn't get food stamps or anything like that. So I relied on Apple Pair heavily for an income, but also for childcare. So once I knew that my daughter had a secure spot in another facility and I didn't need to rely on them for that anymore, I was putting in my applications left and right. I wasn't going above and beyond anymore like I used to, because why would I? That's like being in a toxic relationship and always doing something for your partner, always making sure that they have ate, always making sure that they're good, that their mental state is good, physical, emotional, whatever, and them telling you every single day that you're a piece of shit. Why would you continue to do those things when it's not enough the first time? So I walked out of there and I was just like, I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm literally over it. And like I said, I literally just like got my diary and sort of like writing in it, being like, can't wait to leave this job. I'm so sick of it. I am underappreciated, underpaid. I just want to be on YouTube. And look where we are now, y'all. That was like 2018. So 5 years later, like I manifested that shit. That's crazy. So back to Elise. So like I was saying, I was kind of getting like annoyed with her, and I just didn't like the way she was treating other people. Nobody ever said anything to her. Like even like Fox and Hound, they were like scared of her. So I didn't do anything to her. Like I didn't start acting differently towards her. I didn't stop talking to her. I just made a mental note in my mind, like I'm kind of over Elise. I kind of just like don't really like want to interact with her if I don't have to, right? But we had completely different classrooms. Like my classroom was here, hers was on like the complete other side of the building. So I'm like, so I'm making that face because of this. She started acting really weird towards me. I would walk past her in the hallway, she wouldn't look at me. I would come in the morning to like get my kids from her room, she wouldn't say good morning, because we would always like mess with each other, because like I said, I would call her Zoe, because when she would dance she would look like Zoe from the Proud Family. So I started calling her Zoe. And like one day I went in there and I was like, hey Zoe, like how's Penny and La Sanaga, like from the Proud Family, just joking, and she just like didn't answer me. So I'm like, what the hell? And so I said to Casey, I was like, Elise is acting like differently towards me. I don't understand, like she's acting different. And Casey's like, oh, like what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know, she's like not talking to me anymore. I'll go in there and like I'll say jokes and she doesn't like joke back. Like I was like, something's weird, like something's off, I don't know. And Casey's like, oh my god, that's so weird, like I wonder why. Fast forward to a couple days later, we finally had a staff meeting for the first time in like literally like 5 months. So we go into the staff meeting and we sit down, and Elise ended up being late. I don't know why, but she ended up being late. So she gets to the staff meeting and the only chair available is one next to me. So she walks in, and I think either Fox or Hound was like, oh Elise, there's a chair right next to Dakota. And she just was like, I don't want to sit there. And then goes to another classroom, gets a chair, and comes back in and sits down. And I'm like, yo, like that is OD to like not like somebody so much so you can't sit next to them during a staff meeting. Like you're that immature. You're really that immature. Like that's crazy. So then in my head I'm like, oh, like she really does not like me and she doesn't fuck with me. But like I said, nothing happened. Like yeah, she was doing things that were like annoying, and she was doing stuff that was kind of like rude towards other people, but like I never acted differently towards her because of that. I just mentally made a note that was like, I just don't really want to be around her if I don't have to, but I'm still gonna be cordial, I'll still say hi and bye, whatever. My theory is either they told her that I went and like made a complaint about her making Maddie feel uncomfortable, or Casey went and like planted a seed that like I said something. Because like Casey would come in and she'd be like, Elise said like XYZ, basically insinuating that you did this or that. Like she would like randomly come in and like say stuff like that. And in my mind I'm like, if we're such good friends and everyone knows that we're good friends, why does she feel comfortable enough to come up to you and say things about me? Like I had this best friend in high school, her name was Jen, and there was like this rumor being spread around about me. And I remember when I told her the rumor and she was like, I haven't heard that. I was like, how have you not heard it? It's like going around the whole school. And she's like, well, people know that we're best friends, so they know better than to come up to me and tell me something about you. If somebody is going up to your friend and telling them things about you and talking shit about you, talking down on your name, making derogatory remarks, if somebody is that comfortable going up to your friend and sharing that much information about you, that is not your friend. Because anybody who like comes up to me and like tells me something about my other friends, like they know I'm gonna like stick up for them. Like if somebody came up to me and was like, oh, your friend so-and-so is a piece of shit, I'd be like, no, she's not, and don't talk about her that way. Like, point blank period, if you have good friends that like stick up for you and have your back, no one's gonna feel comfortable going up to them and talking about you. And I just felt like with her, like so many people were comfortable going up to her, telling her things about me, supposedly, I don't know. And I'm just like, if we're such good friends, like why does somebody feel that comfortable? I don't know, it just didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, it was just very clear that Elise like did not fuck with me, and I could not for the life of me understand why. So there was this one night where one of our coworkers was having like a birthday dinner, and I didn't know if Elise was going or not, honestly, but I went anyway because I was like, I'm gonna go support my friend. And Elise came as I was like leaving. Like I was literally walking out going to my car, and I saw her like crossing the street to go in. And apparently while she was there, she was asking the girl like, oh, who did your makeup? Because I did her makeup. And then she told her, and she just like kind of like made like a face. And then she was like, oh, like who did your hair? And she was like, oh, like Casey did my hair. And she's like, oh my god, Casey, you did such a good job, like X, Y, and Z. So it's like she just was like, oh, but you couldn't say that her makeup looked nice because you knew that I did it. Like I don't know, she just was acting weird. But Fox and Hound were about to get their comeuppance, their karma. I don't know, that's what I'm saying. I don't know like what her issue was. Like I don't know if they told her like, oh, like Dakota said something. Like I don't know if Casey like planted a seed and like said something to her about me, because oh, that's another thing. So like Casey like came into the room one day and she was like asking me about the staff meeting. She's like, why didn't she want to sit next to you? And I was like, I have no idea. Like I literally don't know. And like anybody who knows me, like I just said, like I bring up something if there's an issue, right? But if you have an issue with me and you don't come up to me directly and tell me, like if you just like ballerina tiptoe around the elephant in the room, I'm not saying nothing to you. Like that is one thing about me, is like what other people do has nothing to fucking do with me. If you come home and you passive aggressively start slamming cabinets and smashing dishes and frantically cleaning because you're mad that I didn't clean, that has nothing to do with me. If you come home and you say, hey, like, you know, you could have cleaned up a little bit, I would appreciate that. Okay, yeah, no problem. Thank you for communicating and letting me know. Like, I don't do the passive aggressive shit. Like if you walk up to me and like bump me in the arm and that's supposed to indicate to me that you don't like me, as far as I know, we don't have any beef. If you do not directly address to me that you have an issue with me, as far as I'm concerned, we don't have an issue. That's the way that I have always been too, is like I don't take hints. Say it with your chest and be an adult. So I was like, I have no idea. And she's like, well, don't you want to know? And I was like, not really. I don't really care. I was like, unless she comes up to me directly and tells me like, hey, this is the problem that I have with you. I was like, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care. I was like, if she does have beef, it's one-sided because I've never done anything to her. And she kept pressing it like, oh my God, my fucking light just fell again. We're almost done with this video anyway, so I don't even care. She kept pressing the issue. It was like, but don't you want to know? But don't you want to know? Like, I don't know if that was me. Like, I would personally just like, I would want to know. I don't care. That's another thing with me too, is like, I don't care if somebody is like mad at me per se. Like if you are mad at me and you don't address me and we don't talk about it, like I don't, like, deal with it on your own. Like go talk to your mirror, go talk to a therapist, go talk to your mom. I don't know, I don't really care. If you don't address me directly, then I don't know. Like I just don't really care. Also, I don't care for people to like me. I've been like that since I was like 21. Like I stopped caring about what people thought about me right after I had my daughter. Like I just stopped getting validation from other people because that's weird. Like if you don't like me, that has nothing to do with how I feel about myself. Like I know my worth and I know myself and I love myself, so I don't need your approval. Your approval is like an add-on to the approval that I already give to myself. Like I like myself, so if you like me or you don't, I really don't give a shit. Like I'm not that person. Like I never understand those people that's like, oh my God, I have to have everybody like me. I don't give a fuck if you like me or not. I am not everyone's cup of tea because I'm probably more so a shot of whiskey. And you could be the sweetest peach in the world, always gonna be somebody who doesn't like peaches. So, but I just thought it was very questionable how much Casey was pressing me to be like, oh, but don't you want to know? But don't you want to know? But don't you want to know? And I'm like, do you want to know? If you want to know, go ask her. Like, I just don't really understand. And she's like, why don't you go talk to her and ask her like what her problem is? And I was like, because I don't care. If there was a big problem significant enough, she would come up to me and talk to me. Yeah, Fox and Hound definitely got their karma with freaking Elise, and this is where I'm gonna end it at. So basically what happened was, Elise, like I said, she just did whatever she wanted. So there was this one day where she called, the center opened at 6:30 and she came in at 7. She was the opening teacher for her classroom. So she calls and she's like, hey, I forgot I have an appointment this morning, so like I'm not coming in till 11. And Fox and Hound are just sitting there like, girl, you can't just like not come in when you don't want to. Like, that's not how it works. You have to give us a 2-week notice and then we approve your time off or not. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But I see where she got this mentality from, because everybody's schedule basically started to change. So we would all have the same shift every single week. At this point, I had an 8:30 to 5:30 shift. Casey had like a 9:30 to 6:30 shift. And like some people had like 7 to 4, etc. And the new girls that started to come in, because there used to be like seniority here. If you were here for like a certain amount of years, you got to pick your shift because you've been here long enough, right? That rule went out the window all of a sudden when people started complaining and being like, oh, it's not fair, I always have to close. Like, you have to understand, like, for people with kids like me, no, I'm not working till 6:30 because I live 30 minutes from here and I have a baby. So by the time I get home, it's like 7:15. And the only time I got to spend with my daughter all day was giving her a bath, giving her dinner, and putting her to bed. You don't have kids. Why do you need to be home by 6 o'clock every night? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So the people who were complaining, like, didn't even have kids. So like before I had Aubrey and I started working there, I didn't mind closing. I was like, whatever, like, it is what it is. Like, this is the shift I got. Also, I'm new. So anyway, people started complaining, so they started doing like rotating shifts. All the teachers in classrooms started rotating and switching off schedules so it was fair. Guess whose schedule never got touched? Elise's, because Elise went in there and was like, you guys aren't changing my schedule. I am getting home every night at 4:30. I have a daughter, X, Y, and Z. And they let her, they gave her 7 to 4 and they never touched it. But for me, I had to change mine, even though I also have a kid too. I've been here longer than Elise has, way longer actually, about like 3 years, but fuck me, right? So I don't even blame her for having, sorry, there's like something under my eye, having that mentality, because they gave her whatever she wanted. Like, she'd be the only one that would like get supplies, because she would go in there and she would bitch about it, but we wouldn't get our supplies. Like, it didn't make any sense. And she wasn't like a favorite either. Like, they were just scared of her. So she basically was like, okay, well, sorry, like, I have an appointment and I'm not coming in till 10, so see you then, bye. Boop, hangs up. Oh, and that was the thing too, they said, okay, you know what, I'll make you a deal. You come in at 10, okay, but you have to stay till 6:30. You're not doing a 10 to 4 shift. If you come in at 10, you're gonna do a normal 8-hour shift, which would be 10 to 6:30. And she was like, I'm not staying till 6:30. And they'd be like, okay, well, we are now gonna have to call one of the teachers who normally comes in at 9 and have them come in at 7. Otherwise, there's no one to open your classroom. And I'm not making her stay 7 to 6:30 just because you wanna go home. Like, that's not how this works here. This is not a democracy. Like, no. So she was bitching at them, complaining, whatever. So she gets done with her appointment and she comes in, and when she comes in, Fox and Hound are both sitting there waiting for her, ready to talk to her about what she's been doing, about her attitude, about how she just comes in whenever she wants to, she doesn't have respect for anybody. When I tell you, this girl lost her shit. It's like she collectively took all the frustration from all the teachers at Apple Pear and just transferred that and transmuted that onto Fox and Hound. She was yelling, you guys. The lobby was like so far. Like, this was the lobby, like, this is the door, you come in, this is the lobby, you go down a long hall, and then there's a door, and then there's a hallway, and then there's all the classrooms behind like a big ass heavy door. And this door was like heavy, okay? Like, if Fox and Hound were up in the lobby talking, we couldn't hear them. Like, we were all in our classrooms behind these like heavy ass doors. And I tell you, she was yelling so loud, people from the back part of the building, where like the school agers and the older kids were, because the younger kids were like all in the front, people back there could hear her. That's how loud she was screaming at them, you guys. Like, screaming, basically saying they were like the worst directors in the whole entire world, that they had no compassion, no empathy, they work with nobody, and they're scheduled. And like, the funny part is, like, Fox and Hound were right. They were right for like wanting to sit her down and talk to her and tell her about her attitude, but it was just funny how she was like yelling back at them, because at the same time, it's like what Hound was doing at that time and like the way she was treating us and how condescending she was. I was like, girl, let her have it. I felt bad for Fox though, because Fox didn't deserve any of that. She was like genuinely a good assistant director. But as far as Hound, girl, Elise, go off on her, let her have it, because yeah. So me and Casey were kind of like being like messy, because the door was right there and it was a glass door, and we were kind of like creeping out of our classrooms and like going like this, like trying to like look into the lobby. And like, when I tell you, fingers pointing, head nodding, she was giving it to them, okay, telling them off. She went ballistic on them, okay, ballistic. So she ends up going to the where her daughter was, grabbing her daughter and leaving. She was like, I'm not staying here, I'm leaving. Like, they didn't even tell her to leave. They were just like going back and forth with her. Grabs her daughter, leaves, and they come back and they just come to the classrooms and they're like, guys, I'm so sorry you just had to hear that. You know, she just came in here and she started flipping out, like whatever, right? So in all of our heads, we're thinking Elise is fired. Like, Elise is fired. There's no way that you come in here and you tell off your boss like that. And she was cursing, you guys, like cursing up a storm, dropping the F-bomb, like everything, right? Like cursing up a storm. There's no way in hell that somebody's gonna come in here and wreak havoc like that and still have a job. And like I said in the beginning, it was like basically impossible to get fired from this place unless they didn't like you. And if they didn't like you, then they had no issue like letting you go, because they would like purposely try to find things like write you up for whatever. We thought for sure that she was gonna be fired, for sure. And the reason why we thought that was because days are going by, like Monday's going by, Tuesday's going by, Wednesday's going by. Elise isn't here. So we're like, oh, she probably got fired, right? So every Friday the schedule got put up on the bulletin board, and it also got emailed out to us. So the schedule gets emailed, and when my co-teacher comes in, she's like, oh my God, did you see who's on the schedule next week? And I'm like, who? And I open it and it's Elise, 7 to 4, Monday to Friday. And I'm like, how does she still have a job? How does she, if that was anybody else that would have been up there telling them off, cursing up a storm, families were coming in, you guys, as this was going on, like embarrassing, unprofessional.
You're not embarrassed. This is really embarrassing.
If that was anybody else, they would have been fired on the spot. Oh, and also the reason why she was gone wasn't because like, because I was like, oh, well then maybe she was suspended and they gave her a warning. Nope, never got suspended, never even got written up, you guys. The reason why she was gone for those 7 days is because she personally called them the next day and said that she needs time to clear her head and that she needs time to cool down from the situation. So she's taking a week off. So not only did she get off for her appointment and came in later, okay, got away with that, told them off, gave herself a week off for vacation, but she still kept her job. And do you want to know the reason why? They said that they could not fire her because they're afraid that she's gonna pull the race card and that she's going to say that they were racially profiling her and labeling her as microaggressive. So they couldn't fire her. And let me just say this. She was black, but she was not the only black woman working in that building. She was not the only person that like wasn't white that was working in that building. We had someone who was, we had I think 1 or 2 other black women working there, and we had an Indian woman working there. So what? Like, what are you talking about? And on top of that too, like, she did something wrong. Like, she told you guys off. She embarrassed you guys in front of families that were walking through. Like, what? Like, guys, I don't know. From that day forward, I was just like, yo, something's wrong with y'all. Something is wrong with y'all. They literally said the reason why we can't fire her is because she's going to pull the race card, and she's going to say that we were racially profiling her and singling her out because she's black, so we can't fire her. I was like, y'all are just scared. Y'all are just scared. Like, they are just, and everybody said it too. They were like, they're just scared of her. They're just scared of her. They don't want to fire her because they're afraid of her. Like, and that's why she got away with it, you guys. They never even talked about it. They just put her on the schedule, and she came back, and it was like nothing ever happened. And the best part is when she came back, all of a sudden they started being like buddy and like super like, oh, like, hi, how are you? Like, friendly. I think they even, her and I think Fox started like going on like coffee runs together. Anytime she needed anything, they would give it to her right away. Bathroom breaks, supplies, time off. Because at this point in time, like at first when they came in, they were, if people needed like a day off, they were like supportive. But then after a while, like, nobody was getting no days off. Nobody was getting any days off. And if you needed a day off, you had a better chance of probably getting the Declaration of Independence than getting a day off, which we're going to talk about in the next upcoming one, when I needed to move and they would not refuse to give me time off to move to help my 50-year-old father. But anytime Elise needed it, yeah, go ahead. Needs to come in late for an appointment? Sure. She literally had like, I think 2 appointments the next week and came in at 10 and left at 4. They didn't even make her stay till 6:30. But if that was anybody else, girl, y'all look a mess.
Y'all look a mess.
Anyway, I'm gonna end that here today, guys, but don't worry, I have another daycare series story time coming next week, and I think I have 1 or 2 stories until I'm done with the series, until I tell you guys about how I left, until I tell you guys just a bunch of other stuff that went down. Like Tana ended up going ballistic on them too, and they had to change the passcode because to come into this daycare there was like a door and a code and you had to like put it in, and they had to change the passcode, call the cops, like y'all, it was crazy. So definitely stay tuned for that. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and leave a comment down below because it really helps the engagement and just helps get my video out there. If you guys want to see some more of me, be sure to follow me on all my social medias, my TikTok, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Snapchat. Also subscribe to my personal development podcast, Sis Let's Heal. Episodes are going to start going out weekly. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the support, for the love, and I just really appreciate all of you so much. So thank you for watching. And today's post notification shout out goes to Crystal. Crystal said, girl, I'll watch whatever you put out because I love your energy. I'm rooting for you. I want to watch you grow into your next chapter, whatever it may be. Do what makes you happy and the viewers will come to you. Crystal, thank you so much for supporting me on my journey here on YouTube. No matter what content I post, it's just nice to know that it will be received well from viewers like you. So thank you so much. That makes me very happy. It makes me confident going forward and whatever path I decide to pursue here on YouTube. And just thank you for the support. It's because of subscribers like you that I can do what I do and do what I love, and I could not and would not be here without any of you guys. So thank you so much. If you want to be on the next video for post notification shout outs, just go ahead and click the little bell icon in the corner and turn your post notifications on. Comment something down below and you could be the next post notification shout out. I love you guys so much. Have a great rest of your week and I will see you on Friday. Bye.
Baby, I wonder, would you just put your sweats on for me? Yeah. I got the plug.